So remember, it is Conspiracy Wednesday. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. Time for you to embrace the news. It's time for the good news, the bad news, and the other shit. That's right. I don't believe you heard me. The good news, the bad news, and the other shit. And Benny Jean, and put your boom.
All that extra. All that extra. You don't even know. They don't even know what you're singing. You know what? Let me just say this. There was a suggestion by Max.
No, not another one of the Max suggestions. I don't do that with woodland creatures.
Mario,
it's a terrible, nasty thing to do to a little animal.
Your job, while you're co-hosting, is that you're supposed to acknowledge the community that's in the room. So when
it's a little tight.
Mac tried to suggest something about a new show, and you skipped all over, so I can't even address it.
What's going on?
Well, he was saying, why don't you have a Ginger versus Monique have a bad hair day show?
Who is Monique?
Oh, Big Monique.
Yes. See?
You know what I was thinking about? Actually, I have an idea for an updated segment. We might do something, Mac, because I want to do a segment only because of recent issues in the news. It's called "What's Up with Black Hair," and so I got black hair people specialists coming in every week to give us little insights. Now, some of you white folks, think about your children, because some of y'all have some mixed kids. You know, they call me a Mario. I don't know what to do with this hair. I said, no, because you're white.
I saw it happen all the
time.
Now
you got mixed children, that hair kicking your ass, they don't know what to do. I see you try it. That don't work. Can't do that white stuff with that hair.
Well, they don't want to put a relaxer in it, and then they got them looking like, who did it what for?
That's what they call me up. They do, because then they ask me, they say, Mario, what's Ashty?
That's cold.
I said, what do you mean, what's Ashty? She said, my mother-in-law said my children are Ashty. I said, she means you get ashy. She means you need to lotion them up. Black folks like the skin to shine. One of them black things. Yeah. See?
The new cocoa butter Vaseline, my kids even love.
Brandy's been hanging out. She is.
And she's like, and my kids are white.
You see, she's a Brandy though.
My kids are actually pretty dark.
You get around.
They got a good tan.
They are. They got that. You know, they got that color.
It's a thing now.
Yeah, it is.
So you have to. It's multiculturalism.
That's right.
I'm learning to eat all the wonderful different foods, gefilte fish, matzo balls.
You know what?
I get all the chilies from all the different places.
That's cool.
And, you learn different. You got to know the difference between Mexican and El Salvadoran.
True.
Especially when your family getting into all of them.
All the same ingredients.
all through Central America. Hemsley.
That's right. You know what? I'm not saying anything.
All right, you guys, but it's Conspiracy Wednesday, and we got a few things to just a few. But today's topics actually revolve around these alleged U.S. Army re-education camps that are supposedly aimed at activists. That's right. And the following stories that we're going to talk about today are the robot prostitutes that are out there to comfort lonely hearts.
I can't even.
And America's 10 most polluted cities. What's the matter?
I don't even know.
I just pick I don't even spend a lot of time. The people go, how you get these topics? I go quickly look, because I'm busy too, and I grab the topic. So I didn't go looking all far to get these topics. Let me tell you about this thing. Okay. So allegedly, there have been reports about a Pentagon-created plan for interning activists at re-education camps. People have been sending out all these questions asking about this U.S. Army manual that allegedly outlines the resettling of U.S. citizens. Now remember, for those of you who say, oh, Mario, that's bull, let me remind you that in the 1960s, because of right after the riots occurred here in Los Angeles, and you had a series of riots around the country, the House Un-American Activities Committee actually had a plan set up and discussed for the internment of black people in the United States. Should the continued civil rights uprising lead to what people were considered might be. So it's not that far-fetched. If you go look at your own history, your government did intern Japanese Americans.
Yes, they did.
U.S. citizens. So, if you sign in, you have to use your sign-in from live stream.
I forget what it is.
I know. It's probably password.
That's cold.
Just kidding.
I created one.
Yes, you did.
You did?
I'm on your
side. You can't remember it either. See, that's what I need to. I know that I'm hard to password.
Probably password.
Well, see, you got because we getting her in because everybody's commenting on this because they say, "Would this really happen?" Well, I just want you to know it's been discussed.
It's recent, so this happened. People who are already, I guess, considered
Well, there's a manual
terrorists.
that came out, and remember, they passed some new. What happened was you also passed some laws which the president signed, which allowed for the indeterminate detention of U.S. citizens. In other words, believe it or not, yes, your president went right along with it. You have some new things under the whole issue of anti-terrorism. There's some new laws that allow for the determinant. Well, I'm just saying, now, because I hate to indict the president on everything, even though I keep calling him no change. At least very little change.
You're one of those people.
Yes, he is.
I am. I wait for the change.
I knew it.
I wait for the change.
I thought I knew.
You didn't know who you were sitting next to, did you?
Oh, but
you switch girl.
but you know what? It's okay because my mama has Obama's shrine.
Yes.
I go over to black people's house. They have Obama's shrine. You know Obama's shrine where they have the picture and the candle.
Like they know him personally.
They burn it. They got everything. I said, Mom, you have a whole. I'm praying for the president. I said, "Oh, you pray for your damn self right now."
Yeah, right,
the other folks, he doing all right to me. Y'all the one going broke. You better save your prayers. Anyway, so there's some new laws that allow for the indeterminate detention of U.S. citizens. Remember that. Oh, by the way, when you hear about this court in Hague, where I keep bringing this up to everybody. We take people to the international court where we trying for war crimes. You know that the U.S., as part of the charter, can never be named in any kind of indictment in The Hague.
Not at all.
Remember, when we set up these things ourselves, we make sure that we ourselves can never be brought or charged. So no U.S. president can ever be charged with international war crimes because we set up the war crimes.
Well, let me ask you
and we wrote that that no U.S. person could ever be charged.
Let me ask you something. Now, wait a minute. Let me ask you something.
Why do we do that? Why do we do that?
But let me ask you.
They're criminals.
No, wait a minute. No.
I just say it's on the books. Go check. Don't believe me.
HB, would you like to be in the country where you make the rules and run the rules, or would like to be the people who have to follow the rules? Which one would you rather be?
I mean, obviously, you want to be in the country that's writing the rules.
Now, let me go over to Brandy. Brandy, do you want to be part of the country that actually says, I write and make the rules, or I have to follow the rules?
I just want to follow my own rules.
Okay, well, you got to go to Tahiti. You got to go to Tahiti. Now, Mario, what country you want?
That's why I like vacation.
I'm saying, see, here's the issue. Here's the issue. When everybody thinks about that, they assume that the rules are good rules for them.
That's right.
Now, what if the rule is I'm going to come to your house tonight and kick you in the ass and lock you up forever? All of a sudden, the rules don't look the same. You say, well, I don't understand the rules. I love when American citizens get outraged.
Right.
They get the everyday shit that everybody else experiences. I don't understand what's going on here. You've had me locked up for 30 days. Guantanamo, motherfucker. That's where you are. Get them, stay locked up. Mm-hmm. They had people in there for 2 years that they found out didn't do anything. If you guys read the numbers on Guantanamo, they say that 85-90% of the people have absolutely nothing.
Who's they?
And are no help. But they're in there. But they can't. Now, if they had you interned,
who's they?
Any citizen from anywhere around the world where they snatch you.
I'm going to challenge you.
Okay.
Who is they?
All these supposed
I'm going to challenge
Afghanistan, Pakistan folks.
They got newsletters?
No. And here's what happens too, Vic. After they found out something. If they take an innocent person and lock them up for a couple years, then you actually need to be afraid of them. By the time you let them out, you need to be afraid of them and their family.
Right.
Yeah,
by the time you let them out. That's why they go, well, we know we got some of the wrong ones, but we can't kind of let them go. They're mad.
Collateral.
They're really mad now. They're mad.
War is collateral damage. There are no boundaries.
Oh, hell yeah.
Third world. If you're not the most powerful country on the planet.
But people don't think about it.
What do you think?
That's why we're here. That's why we're going to show you this video. Because I said that when we bombed Baghdad. Everybody said, oh, get him. I said, Saddam is down in a bunker drinking some good-ass champagne.
Tequila.
Eating some good-ass steak. I said, you know who's up on top?
Yep.
Not even the soldiers. They need them. They put them in bunkers. You know who's up on top in Baghdad?
Yeah.
Women, children, disabled folks. They catching hell.
That's right.
Up there trying to find a little hole to hide in. Okay, but you think the soldiers? Oh, they in a bunker with a bunk bed, air conditioning. Saddam was eating good.
But watch this.
Meanwhile,
now watch this. Now let me show you something. As a ruling country, let me show you some of the kickback that comes from that. Why are our suicide rates higher with our military more than ever before?
because they get out there and find out how terrible it is what we're doing.
Well, it's like, what is that movie, Black Hawk Down?
Oh,
where
yeah.
it's like you're kind of in a standoff with like a 10-year-old kid who's got a gun, and intrinsically you don't want to shoot him, but if you don't shoot him, he's going to shoot you. It's like you see things that no human being should ever see or experience, and sometimes you don't know, so you have like they'll whatever, I guess, like send like they'll send like a little bomb or whatever, and not a little one, like to clear out an area, thinking that there's enemy in there, and it ends up being innocent women and children that you just killed on accident. But you have to look out for yourself. It's survival of the fittest. I don't know their financial situation. I don't know how they get around, but I'm telling you right now, growing up just in life in general, whether it be education or a bad neighborhood, my mom always did whatever it took to get me out of the situation. So with that being said, that's what blows my mind is you have people who are living in these war-torn countries who aren't getting the fuck up and leaving. Why would I don't care if I was born here and you want to stay here and then die here. That's what's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
They end up in a refugee camp.
Deuces.
And this is terrible. But let me tell you, this is why Americans need to understand the impact of their decisions. For example, embargoes. Does everybody hears the word embargo? Do you understand what an embargo is, you guys?
Yeah.
You say to a country, we're not going to allow in any other good stuff. No cars, no food. We're going to block everything. You know how embargoes are designed to work?
Yes.
It's supposed to make the people so uncomfortable and so unhappy that they revolt against the government. So you know who suffers during the embargo? Imagine your dictator guy. Does he suffer during the embargo?
No, he gets what
Do
he
his
needs.
kids suffer during the embargo?
Nope.
Does his cousin suffer during the embargo? Who suffers during the embargo?
Poor people.
Joe Blow, broke ass citizen out on the streets of Lebanon or Cuba or wherever. So embargoes inherently hurt little people. Why do governments like the U.S. continue to embrace these kind of policies? When your president talks about embargoing, he's talking about hurting people to such a degree so they suffer so badly that they rise up and revolt against the government. That is a political tactic. And it's been used a long time.
A long time.
So now, understand that why we hear perhaps on the conspiracy.
But they have our address.
We indict
it's not
those
like
things.
we're secret. And
But Americans don't care. See, that's why the terrorists want to blow you up, because they feel like you sitting there playing around with the Xbox. Talking about, oh, it's good, embargo. Well, that's cool. Switch the channel.
They terrorize their own people too. It's like, how many times have you heard of like some 8-year-old boy walking into a crowded market and detonating himself?
Totally.
Amongst
Which is the crime.
His own people.
No, that's the sadness with so many of these things. Even if you start out with a side, after you watch it long enough, there's so much death and stuff coming from some. You just say, wait a minute. You can't even keep score no more. Jew, Muslim, 18 million zillion to 18 million zillion one.
Right.
Death. At some point, it has to stop.
And it's the hard part about it is that, and probably until you go back to the British, we don't know what it's like to be in a third world position. We don't know
you
what
do
it's
if you
like.
live in Watts
No.
or Compton, because I can tell you that your rate of birth, of death, things like when you look at child care, what happens with children, death,
Right.
in child death, in delivery, those kinds of things, you're like a third world country. Parts of your country right now, in the U.S., hey, there are parts of this country that are worse. Worse than many, many third world countries.
Right. Now, the only thing that's a little bit different with
Go to Louisiana.
is that you have a lot of countries that say you don't have the freedom of speech, women don't have the rights, all these other conditions that come along with it. It's more than just having the policies work. It's the civility and the culture that's accepted. We don't know what that's like. So it's very hard for me to comment objectively.
Well, you know what? Here's
I've never been in that position.
And conservatives say, look at all this. We have. You should just go there. I go see the difference as to has to do with who you give credit to for that. In other words, I say it's wonderful here. Conservative people didn't do none of that shit. Okay, the reason why it's so good here is because people who were radical and leftist
That's
pushed. I said
For
conservatism is a big ass rock chained to your neck, and you drag it
through
toward
life.
progress.
That's
okay, if conservatives, if it was child labor, you'd want children in the factories. If conservative, you wouldn't want women to have any rights.
Rights.
If this is your legacy as a conservative. So when you say America is great, it's who you giving kudos to. I don't think we're giving kudos to the same people. I'm giving kudos to the rebel rousers, to the brothers and sisters of the civil rights movement who gave up beatings, took up all that stuff to make America change, to the women who suffered to make America change. Those were not conservative people. There would have been no change. It would have just been conservative.
Same.
Everything is good enough for me.
In the same.
The good old days.
Well, yeah, because right now what people do, because you have media and they form and massage what conservative can mean. It's like the scale. They take the worst end of it, eliminate that part, and take the best end of conservatism to say this is what we're talking about. And they'll focus in on all the things that's bad across the board. In other words, crime across the board is bad, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, conservative, moderate, whatever you go. Killing innocent people is bad, right? But when they when they want to, you know what? Don't say that.
So they say.
Wait a minute, I said innocent.
But how you know they're innocent? Right now, the drones are making this. Right now, you know who's deciding innocence? The commander who's on that night, who the drone is looking at the people. He's got to make a decision. Do we send out the rocket? He is judge and jury.
Wait a minute.
Right there. He looked guilty to me. Look, watch out, Assad. Wow, oops. Collateral damage. Damn, that's like, shit, he looked like Assad.
You're wrong.
I'm going home. I'll be back tomorrow.
See, I'm talking about the innocent families.
That's the ones who get hit by the drones.
No, you said the ones that may be pushing the buttons. I'm talking about those that we're talking about who
get hit.
Who just
one
get
of the
hit,
people who are affected by the reported 7,000 drones over Afghanistan. Remember, this is the U.S. military reports.
Yeah.
We gave you, remember, I said, well, 70 sounded okay. 700 sounded excessive. 7,000 drones? And if you say 7,000, then people say, if they say 7,000, it's 15,000.
Mm-hmm.
Is it better, watch this. Let me ask you ladies, because they're from a position that's different. Is it better to have drones go out there in a safer position that your family or those of the servicemen and women go out there and put themselves on the line? Would you rather have the machinery, all those collateral damage that's going to come with it, versus your own frontline people that you know and love? What would you prefer? Give it to me. Come on, HB.
Well, when I was in high school, the project I was supposed to complete that I probably didn't or cheated on was about that, the UAVs or whatever.
Right.
To me, at first, when I was reading about it, I thought it sounded like a great idea. You know, it's like not put another U.S. soldier in harm's way and go out there, you know what I mean, and let them, because it's an unoccupied, is that what it's referred to? It's a whatever.
Terminator.
Anyway, exactly. Bottom line is, I thought it sounded like a great idea, but if at the same time it doesn't have the discretion that a human being would be able to, you know, to differentiate between an enemy and not. So as long as there are people who, like, you know, there's some people that, especially that are in the military, that I cannot stand to be around because they are so, you know, with their blinders on and that's all they want to do. So send that fool out there and let him fly that thing. And if he gets knocked down, he doesn't have any kids or a wife or a family that cares about him and he dies, deuces, bye.
Remember, see, the thing that's relative, because if you take a historical look at armed services, you'll come to understand that there's a historical pattern about who gets sent out to fight.
Isn't it the dummies that go
Well,
first?
I hate to say, remember, let's put it like this. When you go hang out with people who have a lot of college degrees and family money, you never hear any of them wanting their kids in the military. There's no... See, this is the classism that's implied. They sell to working class people the pride of the uniform, putting on that uniform.
And that's why there's one of the Crenshaw Mall.
That's why they sell it to working...
Recruiting
that only works for working class people.
Yeah.
You don't get amongst your elite in this country and find respect for the military. There are people who do what they're told. You know what they feel like? They work for us. Those are my dogs. When I say go here, go do that, that's what they do. They go do what I tell them to do. So then they sell to them. Oh, now you have respect. And that ploy has been used since back to the Roman times. When you have the honor of dying for me.
Well, and if they're that die hard, if the person is like protect and serve my country. And, I don't think they should be sending 18-year-old boys out there. You know what I mean?
Well, that's in Vietnam, the average age was 19. And we talked about the suicide rate.
Yes.
This is why.
Right.
This is part of it
PTSD.
because
Yeah.
I'm not putting down the see, these people love their country so much that they're willing to do what they think is the right thing. My thing is they get pimped.
Always.
So that's my thing. I'm not blaming them because they care enough. They want to do things, and a bunch of them just need a job.
And they don't. And they don't understand exactly the gravity of what they're
Then they
committing
look
to.
up and they're over in some. And then when they get over there, that's why you hear them when they're seeing it firsthand. They say, "What are we doing? It doesn't look like it makes any sense,
Right.
or there's any end to it." And having this happen before, where people invade your country, and what happened? The indigenous people play the game of the what do you call it? The death of 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
It's an old philosophy. I think it was Sun Tzu. Said if you take your strong enemy and you cut him, just one little cut, once a day for 1,000 days, he will die.
Break it down.
He will die. So they just do that one. The Vietnamese said they were willing to lose 30 for every one. The Americans that they killed, they were willing to lose 30 people.
The Vietnamese, they crazy.
And that's right. The little in them tunnels, right?
Yeah.
It goes to show you, right? And what happened? Eventually everybody leaves their country. The Russians were in Afghanistan.
Oh yeah, they lost.
What
the war.
happened with that?
A tactical war they lost.
Okay,
It's
so
a
here we
tactical
are.
war.
Now I say that because before we show this video, I'm gonna remind you, U.S. $684 billion a year in military. The nearest competitor was China with $114 billion. We outspend the whole world combined. I'll say that again. We outspend the whole world combined. And have you heard any talk about this during your election campaign? Has the president been any change? No. That's why your economy is like it is. And they talk about they can't afford health care. You know what? Because none of them want to cut down on the military machine. To me, I said, $684 billion. How about 400? Can we cut a deal here? $400 billion. You have to outspend. The Chinese spend $114 billion. That's the nearest person to our 600. And this is, if you don't believe me, you guys, it's not a secret. Go look, Google it right now. U.S. military spending by year. It's not a secret. That's because people say it's really higher than what you're reading.
What would you going to say, Brandon?
Because some of them have classified budgets.
Right. What were you going to say, Brandon?
I was just gonna say, it's just crazy. I'm one of those sad people who I don't even have health insurance. It's like, go to Canada, I would have free health insurance. But I'm just saying all this money that's being spent on a war.
And you think about,
I just hate
right.
war, period. It just, ugh.
And you got to have, and my thing is, I'm not saying that you don't need to have a strong military. I'm going to any average thinking person doing a budget. $684 billion. The nearest enemy is spending $114 billion. I think we can cut back a little.
A tiny bit.
Okay.
Just maybe $1 billion.
Yeah, or something to spend on the little kitty lunch program. Okay, or some shots. Okay. But when you do that, and yet you cannot deal with a BP oil slick. When you do that, and you cannot deal with the kind of things that we were facing everyday citizens. This is why, I know you'll say it's not that I'm anti the president, I just said he is no change. I'm a person who looks at numbers. Either you are or you're not.
Well, I think what all these
No
presidents
change.
do, they think they're going to come in and be revolutionary. At least I feel like the Democratic candidates, they come in and, even when I was first looking at majors, I was really interested in political science because I felt like, the whole motto, like, let sleeping dogs lie. A lot of us are uneducated when it comes to politics and what's really going on. With policies that affect my generation, with the Pell Grants or the Stafford loans and all these types of things.
Yes.
And so, but then you just start to be informed and you get disheartened.
It breaks your heart a little bit.
I was like, just wrapping your mind around, like, when I was actually taking political science, I had to end the semester with doing a debate on collateral damage or whatever, and what your thoughts were on it. And pretty much I took the stance that I thought that collateral damage was unacceptable because it's like, it's okay when it's not happening in your backyard or whatever, but, George Bush's kids aren't there, you know what I mean? And
right.
If that were the situation, he would go and pull them from that country or whatever was going on. So bottom line is, I think a lot of people come in, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. People want to do right and they want to do good, but then once the influx of information starts coming in, it's like you're a drop of water in the ocean.
Well, that's what you certainly feel like, even though I say to you, as an old 60s radical too, take heart, take a deep breath, and remember you have to fight the long fight. And even those people who say Mario angry, remember whose side I'm on. I'm on your side. I have health insurance. Okay, I fit into the percentages of America's elite.
This baller right here.
I know, man.
A pediatrician. Who would have thought, right?
But see, that's what makes me so angry, because I get to see the discrepancies. When I filed my bankruptcy 10 years ago and made $300,000 of tax debt disappear, and that cost me $5,000. You know what the attorney told me? It'd be the best $5,000 you ever spent, Doc. So you're going to like this one. Watch this. And they even tell you, go out and charge up all your credit cards. When you leave the meeting, they tell you, man, go charge everything, because next week I'm filing papers, baby. Leave here today and go shopping.
What?
Buy everything, you charge it all up to the hilt, baby, because Monday morning, we shutting that shit off. That's the way they talk. And when you go down to the bankruptcy court, you watch how they, boom. And you say the poor common man don't understand. He's sitting there struggling with that little 2000 tax bill. How do I pay? How do I pay? I owe the IRS 2000. And all the people who really owe money get to dance, and I benefit from it too. And that's part of what made me also angry at the same time, because it's the way the game is. That it is a game and it's played all the time with you, with your money, just like healthcare. I was in favor of rationing back in there. People say, why? Because when you ration, you got to make a list of what they get and what they don't get. And right now, they don't have a list, but you can't get it any damn way. Go to the ER. Go right now. See if you can get in. That's rationing, baby. It ain't available. Okay? So that's what people understand. They think they got health care because they got that little card. Going in there. Going in about 11 o'clock. Look at that 13-hour wait. see if you got some health care.
I'm coming at 3784 North on Drive.
Well, let's take a look at the video of the day, because we're going to move out of the politics. But this is all about the supposed detention camps to repatriate folks and educate them. Let's take a look.
May Day was a day that brought hundreds of thousands worldwide out in the streets to stand for economic justice. But out of all the retelling of May Day's historical roots, one disturbing event has been kept out of the dialogue, and for good reason. Did you know that on May Day in 1971, the Army herded 7,000 protesters into a stadium-turned-prison camp right here in Washington, D.C.? Well, that was back in the 1970s, and a lot's changed since then, right? Well, not exactly. The infamous incident of the U.S. military interfering in local law enforcement operations leads us to a recently released DoD document called, quote, Internment and Resettlement Operations. The manual outlines policies for processing detainees in internment camps inside and outside of the U.S., including the re-education of detainees to ensure their integration back into society. So is this a hyperbolic situation of the worst-case scenario, or does this manual shed a light on what's to come in the U.S.? To help me answer some of those questions, I'm joined now by Alex Jones, host of The Alex Jones Show. Hey, Alex. So the government writes lots of memos about hyperbolic situations that never really come to fruition. Why is this one so different?
Sure, that's a good question. This is not just a contingency plan. In the 60s, 70s, 80s, we had Rex 84 and other plans. Now there's been a massive ratcheting up and billions of dollars a year being spent in the last decade or so to actually take old military bases under the Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program, under the Emergency Centers Establishment Act, and to prepare them for, quote, emergencies. But I've been to the drills and noticed that they were training with the role players to put American political dissidents in them. They always tell the media that it's for disasters domestically or foreign wars and putting people in camps like Abu Ghraib in Iraq or Camp X-Ray in Cuba. But now more and more documents are coming out confirming what I already had from sources. And my research into this and the 4 films I've made in the Police State series, starting with Police State 2000 in 1999, where I witnessed Marines training to confiscate firearms on the West Coast and put Americans, both on the left and right, into camps and even segregate them according to their different political persuasions. Now we have an Army document that dovetails with huge increased spending, hiring tens of thousands of people in the military to specifically be internment camp officers. And I actually had military personnel blow the whistle on this to me in the last year about the hiring of tens of thousands of people in the training camps that they've set up to train the prison guards for these. And in this new document,
oh yeah, I was just going to say, talk a little bit. Yeah, you're talking about they're hiring hundreds of thousands of people, and talk a little bit about the PSYOP program within the document and what that really means. I mean, the re-education aspect of this document. Should people care about that? Explain a little bit more about that.
Exactly. That's what's sensational about this is they went from saying there aren't camps to, okay, we're building a bunch of them and manning them, and they have other contracts to prepare for private contractors to be ready within 70 hours or so to be able to fully man the camps that are already built. And in this new document, this isn't some contingency plan. This is the manual, and I can give people the number. It's FM 3-39.40, and they admit this is real. To psychologically brainwash with loudspeakers, to bring the political dissidents in who are there because of their political views, and to take them into other segregated areas of the camps. And it talks about psyoping them, conditioning them with classic 24-hour blaring loudspeakers. And what's crazy is when I've been to these urban warfare drills, that's what they announce is civil disobedience will not be tolerated. Your First Amendment has been canceled. And then when I had camera crews at the G20 in Pittsburgh 2 years ago, they had the police under military training saying the exact same thing and even attacking students at the college who weren't even protesting. We got video of young women on bicycles. They were saying daytime, nighttime curfew, stay in your dormitories, beating women over the head with billy clubs just for fun, just to set the precedent that, hey, you don't come out of your dorm. There was famous footage at the G20 under Pentagon control with the local police and National Guard with German Shepherds, old women coming out of the grocery store with bags. And they're told, you can't be on the street, and it's broad daylight. And they release the German Shepherds who begin biting the old women. I mean, this is just absolutely off the charts. Even the most authoritarian states don't act like this. And the social controllers, the big banks that have taken over this country, and their collaborators in the police and military are openly trying to train the police and military to be attack dogs. And now we've got North Korean-style gulags with re-education camp manuals right out of the most authoritarian regimes this world has seen. This really proves...
What does the reintegration even mean? I mean, how can they be sure that someone's ready to be reintegrated into society? It seems like an interesting concept to explore. What do you think that means? I mean, what will that entail?
Well, we know what happens in classical re-education camps. They get people within the camps to turn against those that are picked out to be persecuted. And really it's about the mass of people getting into serving the camp guards and being collaborators. Those that are chosen as the political dissidents to be tortured and abused and broken, they're generally kept for decades or put in slave labor. They're never to be released. The real secret of a re-education camp under the Soviet Nazi model, Khmer Rouge model, I mean, all systems that have become authoritarian have done this. The real point of this re-education camp center is to get the majority to join in on oppressing citizens, and then some of the best enforcers of the authoritarian system are those that were actually in the re-education camp. They're finding people not to break them, but who will enjoy serving the system. That's what these camps are really about. Just like they've used Abu Ghraib, but more importantly, they've used Camp X-Ray at the base in Guantanamo Bay to create the new Al-Qaeda that they use to go take over Libya, and they're using to attack Syria. So the truth is, it's actually a training ground to find and create double agent Al-Qaeda. Well, it's the same thing here. These re-education camps are actually factories to create collaborators.
Alex, I wanted to talk a little bit about the memo where it says that it invokes a special restriction on the Posse Comitatus Act, but I thought that Bush in the John Warner Defense Authorization Act of 2007 already suspended the Posse Comitatus Act. I was wondering if you could explain what that exactly means to civilians.
Well, I got to say, from all the RT shows I've done that are excellent, you are asking the best questions. It's 300 plus pages. It actually states that, well, there is posse comitatus, but the president can suspend that. So all intents and purposes, it's already suspended. Kind of like Congress told Obama, you've got to get authorization to launch a war in Libya. And he said, I don't need that anymore. And so they talk about posse comitatus, but only to state it's hollow and dead. And yes, the John Warner Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, all of these just further suspend posse comitatus, the 1878 law, barring the military being used on the streets of America.
Do you think that these measures, Alex, are being set up in anticipation for some sort of global, unrest domestically? I mean, it just seems like after 9/11, all these measures have been taking place. Why? What is the purpose of ushering them in so quickly? The NDAA, John Warner, this. What do you think they're preparing for?
Well, we've seen The Economist magazine, Time magazine, you name it, say Bank of the World, technocrats, the world will no longer have freedom. They brag Goldman Sachs has conquered Europe. Goldman Sachs has conquered us by having our politicians sign on to the impossible to pay quadrillion plus derivatives. And so they're getting us ready for a total engineered collapse where those that collapse the society to re-engineer it pose as the savior. And so that's why they've taken old contingency plans and things they beta tested back in the 70s and 80s and have put it on a war footing and just ramped it up 500%. I mean, it is just, it's not just this document. It's billions a year now in the public bids for companies to supply the barbed wire, the private security, the interrogators. I mean, it's all there. You just have to look at each document and put them together, and it is frightening.
It is interesting, Alex, and it is also worth noting that the government has said that it's not a matter of if, but when there will be a digital terrorist attack, and that could explain the crackdowns on the internet and the fight that we're seeing on that front. That was Alex Jones, host of the Alex Jones Show.
All right, that's RT.com. It's funny. Christina just asked me, said, Mark, what is that RT? RT.com is the former Russia television. What's amazing is that, like a lot of people, I went looking for foreign press because I always found it interesting, even when you read the British press, to see how foreign news covered issues in the United States. It's so amazing what happens when you go look at stuff. On key things that happen, the perspectives are so different. So one of the ones I look at the English version of Al Jazeera. There's France 24. This is RT.com. And RT.com, the reason why we show more of them is because they don't fight us. All the American news outlets just flag us like they don't let us show damn near anything. They come after us all the time. They're like watching us.
Yeah.
My friends upload videos that have stuff in it. It doesn't get flagged to YouTube. If we have a Michael Jackson music track in the background, like we're shooting a video at a county fair,
right,
it'll get flagged.
So
they watch Pack Stereo like a hawk. RT doesn't fight us.
A lot of I call medium enterprises, not the big boys, are using it. So they've already turned into a fashionable outlet. Like they said, the rules are governed where it benefits to a certain point those who take advantage of it. So it's already been adopted that Russian television is not anything to fear, because I can quote names of
just like us
outlets that's using it right now. So the bottom line is they figured out another way of coming and bringing. It's a business model. It works.
Right, and so what the main thing as indie people is that we go to where we can get stuff that we can use. Okay. Now, all right. So now we got to deal with the last two stories. Now, one of them I might have to save for tomorrow, but
not tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. Next week.
That's what I said. See.
Well, let's tell you this. First of all, the 10 most polluted cities. The 10 most polluted cities in the U.S. Going to run through this quickly because I want you to know. Some of you from Fresno. I don't know. Okay, number 1, Bakersfield, California, you guys.
Wow.
Boy, what it's the ozone. Number 3 most polluted ozone. Bakersfield sits in a bowl surrounded on 3 sides by mountains. Dry weathers add particles to the dust. They got terrible ozone. Bakersfield. Number 2, Hanford, California.
Dang.
I know someone from Hanford.
don't even know what is that. Where?
Hanford is up north.
North of the Bakersfield area.
Yeah. Hanford.
Around that
It's like
Porterville.
it's not. It's between here, there, and Fresno, right?
Yeah, it's near Fresno.
It's near
area.
Fresno.
Fresno, yeah.
But Hanford rank in the ozone polluted cities number 5. They say the polluted air from Fresno, its neighbor to the north, drifts in and just sits there.
So wrong.
Brandy's from Fresno. Number 3, Los Angeles.
I was surprised. I thought we were going to be number 1.
That goes to show you that Hanford is worse than Bakersfield. It's worse than L.A.
Wow.
LA's bigger, maybe.
Man, I don't. Hey.
Maybe like they're talking about like a concentration.
But
yeah.
look at that. I'm just saying, look at it bad. Number 4, Visalia, California.
Wow.
Oh, California just
It's
taking the top 10.
Visalia. I know, look at that, you guys.
Jeez.
Number 5, Fresno, California. So far, these are the most polluted cities.
They're all in a row, like Hanford, Fresno, Bakersfield.
You don't see why I bring it to you guys? You can't get news like this in other places. You can't get it. You gotta come to Pack Stereo. Pittsburgh. Oh, PMC. PMC.
Oh, PMC. I-
PMC. Oh, man. Oh, man.
Couldn't
Look
get
at
away
that.
from Three Rivers.
Oh, man. It's number 20 in the ozone polluter. You know, it's the steel. Big time steel. But, you know, it's so amazing because Pittsburgh actually gets rated one of the most livable cities in the country, too. It continually ranks high even despite this. They did a whole bunch of urban renovation and stuff. They no longer have the steel factories, and they have this whole renovated downtown or something. Haven't been there,
It's just
PMC.
too cold. Nobody's.
Yeah, but they say Pittsburgh is supposed to be hot.
It's too cold.
Yeah, they don't do steel anymore, but they did some big renovation. Okay. Phoenix, man, you would think Phoenix is number 7
Man, everything in the Southwest, right?
so far. Cincinnati, number 8. I had heard about Cincinnati.
Wow.
Anybody on the rivers? You know, that's where they dump it all. That's where big ass catfish that glow in the dark. And they speak 3 languages.
That's wrong.
Louisville, Kentucky.
Wow.
Man, look at Louisville.
Wow.
Man, I saw this place you don't. And number 10, Philadelphia. That's where all the Hemsleys are. That's where all my family is. Philadelphia, number 10, you guys. Most polluted cities.
I like PMC's quote. He says, "We don't make steel anymore. That has nothing to do with it. It's done. You're still burnt, man." That's it.
Still resonates.
It's done. I'm sorry, man. Try. It's done.
All right. Now, and then, okay. And the last story, and I guess we might have to take this up. I don't actually have time to get into it. But it was a story we mentioned about the robot prostitutes. That's right. Girls working in brothels might lose their jobs to robots. There's new research suggesting.
No industry safe.
I know. But
That's
I'm
right.
Sure that's not going to happen.
No, and then, see, you wonder who does this research.
What kind of vagina
New research.
does
Well,
the
my-
robot have?
I know my blow up friend.
I'm sorry. It's the first.
They always come like this too, Vic.
Wait a minute.
I think the robot would be uncomfortable. I'm just saying.
It's got to be like it's got to
got-
be made with like soft parts.
Well, so y'all don't know, but dryness kicks in on the regular women at a certain
They
point.
don't realize.
Dryness, is that what you said?
Well, I'll say this. Let me help you guys.
I think that is awesome.
See,
now
this
you
is-
said that's going to be.
I'm laughing. That's Brandy.
Wait a minute. You guys are forgetting. There's a disconnect. The warning came some years ago. Probably before you guys were just little toddlers. The Stepford wives. They did this already.
They assume men would want someone who would do whatever they say
and they
anytime
did.
they
Well,
want.
you know what? More power
it's
to
not
them,
that bad.
kinky freaks. If you need a damn fucking robot,
But you get a real
oh,
woman to
God,
do that.
What is it that you're trying to do?
Hey, but you get there's a bunch of real women that'll gladly play that role.
That's what I'm saying.
They
I'm
will tell, baby, just tell me when you want it.
There's some dirty.
Watch-
shit
I
out
bring
there.
it right
But
there.
I guess that is the issue though. If you find the one that is a freak, you got to make sure
That's
she's
right.
clean. So it's like with the robot, you don't have to worry.
That's what I said. There are real women who do that
Yeah, they're.
on demand. I had a few.
Yeah,
In my
but
day, they
look,
tell you I'm on demand.
You just gonna take them to tune-up masters.
I deliver too.
Think about it.
And I
Yeah,
deliver.
you don't have to go. You don't have to deal with the medical industry. You just go to like an automotive clean up, get a diagnostic, clean it, oiler, and everything?
Well, let me tell you, this is a study that was published in Future magazine.
Not okay.
And it was done from Victoria University in New Zealand. And they did a study that said that lifelike robo-prostitutes could replace humans by 2050. High-quality alternatives where robots were indistinguishable from humans would cut down the profitability of human exploitation by making it cheaper to do a robot. Man. So let's think about y'all. They talk about could cost between $7,000 and $9,000 to build them. The first sex doll, they working on one in Las Vegas.
I'm with Mac on
Sex
this one.
doll.
I'm with Mac. We can close this out.
They got one look just like Christina.
I'm putting this on Facebook.
Don't worry.
The world has got to know.
Mac already did the answer for me. He said, robot with steel claws clamped down on your Johnson, no thanks. All of a sudden, your cars all of a sudden get a hiccup. So why wouldn't
Braces locked.
What did they say, 2050?
Braces do lock. It just
Yeah,
happens.
right?
End up in the ER.
What if it shut down?
That's right.
It's a real issue.
That's right. See, I'm with Mac. You right, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's been the good news, the bad news,
Bad news for
and other shit. Mostly the other shit. But good news, bad news. Conspiracy Wednesday. Was it a bummer? Was it a bummer? See, Vic is the one that said, man, it's too much politics.
It's too much politics.